everybody? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new episode. Don't forget that throughout the week I am dropping countless reviews in the world of horror, whether it's movies, TV shows, games, books, whatever. And Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to have some horror news, a new opinion piece, or an interview for you to check out. And the best way to stay on top of all the content that I'm dropping here for you is to get subscribed to my Linktree. You can do that by going to linktr.ee/T-Scary-Movie. If you get subscribed to my Linktree, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms, the audio-only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings through the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page for my horror gaming including Phasmophobia for the PSVR 2, and to my Fangoria page where you can enjoy my 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop, including a yearly subscription to the physical magazine. Take advantage of that, folks. Hit that subscribe button, as the more followers I get, more content I can put out for all of you. And don't forget, every month we got giveaways that we're doing. This month, if you comment on a video here in the month of November, you will be entered to win a copy of X, the official movie novelization. That is right, folks. Tim Wagner did the adaptation of this, and you should know that name because he's done a number of popular book adaptations of popular horror films and other movies over the last couple of decades here. This book is truly excellent, and it adds a lot of insight and perception into what a lot of these characters are thinking around the events of the film. If you really do want to see the entire story, this is what you got to read here, folks. So again, comment on any video here in the month of November, entered for a chance to win a copy of X. So tonight here, folks, we have some news for you. That's right. We got some horror news for y'all to check out here, and we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right on into things. Our first story tonight concerns Resident Evil and George A. Romero. Now, we all know that George Romero is highly regarded as the master of the zombie genre. Rest his soul. He brought us the epics of Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, amongst other films, but those are the ones that he primarily is known for in the horror space. And what a lot of people outside of the horror bubble might not be aware of is back in the late 90s, when the Resident Evil series was sprouting up and beginning to take flight and beginning to go across screens everywhere on the PlayStation, on the Sega Saturn, and eventually other consoles like PlayStation 2, Xbox, Dreamcast, and so on, that George A. Romero at one point was developing his own Resident Evil film. This would be based on the first game in the series, where the STARS team goes to Spencer Mansion in the Arklay Mountains to investigate a disturbance, and they end up encountering a bevy of monsters, including zombies, giant spiders, snakes, crows, dogs, and much, much more. Now, the game itself is an absolute classic, and the idea of this police force ending up in a mansion in the middle of nowhere and dealing with a bunch of monsters, it is ripe for adaptation. Now, not too long ago, we actually got an adaptation of the original game, and the second game at that, with Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. This basically gave what a lot of fans have been wanting out of the Resident Evil movies, to give a much, much more faithful storyline that goes from something that they've seen in the games. You might also recall that filmmaker Paul W.S. Anderson was the man in charge of the Resident Evil film series for quite a while there. They ended up producing 7 films in that franchise, and while your host here is a fan of that series, I honestly am, and I'll get to my thoughts on that here in just a moment. A lot of folks derided the films just because they weren't faithful adaptations of the games. That brought a lot of questions out as to, when we get video game to movie adaptations, do we want to see 100% what we've seen in the video game played out in screen, or do we want it to be kind of like an homage, taking certain bits and elements and telling its own original story? Paul Anderson ended up going with the latter route there and introduced this character, Alice, who had deep ties to Umbrella and the viruses that they have been working on. And we did get to see, again, a bit of a greatest hits across all of these films that sprinkled in characters that we knew from the game, some monsters that we knew, items, locations, all these things were showing up, but they again weren't actually the true to honest to God adaptations of the stories that we'd seen. And so when that franchise ended, a lot of folks hoped that when it got rebooted, we would go back to what we knew. We even got a TV series, if you remember, on Netflix a couple of years back that again kind of took the Paul W.S. Anderson approach and cherry-picked a few things here and there, but told its own story. I was a fan of that series as well too. But to circle all this back around, back in 1998, George A. Romero actually wrote a script for the first Resident Evil film. Now, this is a script I have read a number of times because it's been online for a long time here. Like, folks, I'm saying, like, I read this back in like 2002, 2003 at the latest maybe, and I was obsessed with it because I still do love the Resident Evil game franchise, but at that time I was knee deep in it. Resident Evil Code Veronica was my favorite game. It's still in the top 10, but Code Veronica was my absolute favorite game. And so getting some honest to God, like, this is really Resident Evil here, like seeing it, like reading it through a script, I was stoked. And I know for the longest time that movie was trying to get made, and for a number of reasons, it just completely fell apart. It never actually got under cameras at all. And eventually, again, Paul W.S. Anderson stepped in, and we got the adaptation that he and his crew were able to put together over the course of the next 15 years. Yeah, over the next 15 years or so. So, come January 7th, we are getting the documentary George A. Romero's Resident Evil that will look into the work that Romero did on this project to try to develop a new film that ultimately didn't work out. This is going to be exciting, y'all, just because, again, any Resident Evil nut or any Romero nut is always going to kill to hear more about Romero working more in the zombie space. And any Resident Evil nut knows that having a filmmaker of that pedigree on board this kind of project is huge. Romero may not be with us anymore, but it's going to be exciting to see the vision that he truly had for one of the top gaming franchises of all time. Again, George A. Romero's Resident Evil hits on demand and digital outlets beginning January 7th, folks. My second story here surrounds the new FX TV show Alien Earth. We've talked a little bit about this show here on the show before, specifically when I was talking Alien Romulus earlier this year, and when I was looking into a couple of the other Alien films. You know, this is groundbreaking for the Alien franchise. It is set on Earth, and the xenomorphs are actually on Earth. Now, Noah Hawley, who put this series together, had talked about how he didn't really want to have to worry about too much of the mythology going into this, but we have now found out that Alien Earth officially takes place 2 years prior to the first Alien film. That's big. That's fairly big here because it does reshape a lot of the information that we know about the story and about some of the characters in here, that we have to approach a lot of this material differently than we have before. Alien Romulus did that to us as well too, because if you go back and check out my review of Alien Romulus, I talked about how that movie very much puts Weyland-Yutani into a completely different light, because with that first film, you know, we got to see that the crew of the Nostromo ends up going to LV-426. They stumble upon the eggs at that point. Kane gets infected and all hell breaks loose to when Ash's directives say they have to get the alien back and the crew is expendable. But at least back in the day when you watched it, there was this idea that, you know, maybe it was just happenstance at that point. And I do feel that Alien Earth is actually going to hone in even more that this wasn't an accident at all. Now, of course, there's still questions because the original Alien film leads us to questions that we had in Prometheus. And I'm fairly positive Alien Earth is not going to do anything to address address any of the story threads that were set up in Prometheus or set up in Covenant or even in Romulus at that. And I get it, not every filmmaker is going to concern themselves with these other kind of details. So I am curious to see what this push will be, because I don't see how they don't actually show Weyland Yutani playing a direct role with LV-426, to the point to where I wonder how much of that they were responsible for the planet being the way that it is. Now, Alien Earth is set to debut in 2025 right now. And of course, we know that there has been a sequel announced to Alien Romulus as well. We don't know if that means it'll be Alien Romulus 2, but that is currently the plan, or if that might end up changing into Covenant 2 or something completely different. But we know the Alien franchise is not slowing down anytime soon. Stay tuned for more details on Alien Earth, folks. And our final story tonight surrounds the upcoming 3rd season of the hit Showtime TV show Yellowjackets. Y'all, this has been a tremendous show. I've enjoyed getting to follow along with it, and I do believe that this season coming up, I'm going to end up having to follow that week by week as well too, because I'm doing that with a few other shows, and for whatever reason, like, I talk about the seasons in general, but then I wasn't following each episode. So I think with season 3, we're going to jump into weekly coverage of that. But everybody's favorite show about your soccer team full of cannibals is set to return, and it is officially coming back February 14th. That's right, folks. We are getting 2 episodes on Friday, February 14th, leading us into the season premiere officially on Sunday, February 16th on Showtime. So if you happen to have Paramount Plus, you will get the first 2 episodes of the season early. Otherwise, over on Showtime, that's when they're going to start the weekly rollout of those episodes. This has been a phenomenal show that has featured Melanie Linsky, Christina Ricci, Juliette Lewis, Tawny Cypress, Sophie Thatcher, who has blown the hell up since Yellowjackets has started. This has been a tremendous show, and following all the crazy twists and turns and all the murder and the death and the cannibalism going on, it has been such a joy. I highly recommend it. And right now, Showtime seems to be in a really good space with original content, because they have a few series scheduled back to back. You know, we get Dexter Original Sin here in just a few weeks, and then I have to assume not long after that season ends, I don't know how many episodes we're getting in the first season of Original Sin, but I have to imagine that takes us probably to the end of January at the very least there, maybe the week right before Yellowjackets, but then we go right into that. It is an exciting time to be a fan of Showtime original series for sure, y'all. Yellowjackets is back Friday, February 14th on Paramount Plus, y'all. So that is going to do it for me here tonight. Just a few quick news stories for y'all to check out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, as I have a really fun interview coming up here at the beginning of December that I want you all to check out. And I still got plenty of reviews coming your way as well too. We have continued coverage of the creep tapes of season 1 of Penny Dreadful. We're going to start Dexter Original Sin here in just a few weeks. We got Azrael coming up here soon too. We got a lot of stuff I want y'all to be tuning in for. So hit that subscribe button, folks. I appreciate you tuning in tonight. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.
Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.